and felt it was a really productive weekend. And also very thankful for Woody and Christopher's support through this whole process. A lot of good conversations leading up to this point throughout the off season, and feel good about where we're at.
Joe, you said, I think it was at the league meetings, that you had a chance to do something special here with the drop count that you had. Do you feel like you accomplished that over these 3 days?
Feel like we're a better team now than we were going into this weekend. Feel like we're a better team now than we were to start the entire off season. And again, a lot of that credit goes to Coach and his staff, and Rex and all of our personnel staff working together, and just a real team effort to give us this chance to go into a season, improved at some different spots, adding quality depth to the team, and adding some guys that we feel can be explosive, dynamic playmakers for us.
Can you give us your reports on the 2 guys you picked today?
Yeah, 2 guys we picked today. I would say one adjective to describe both of them is tough. Very, very tough. Max from Lafayette, Max Mitchell. Feel like he can be a versatile piece on the offensive line. Guy was at the Senior Bowl. Highly competitive, very smart, versatile guy. He's been practicing at tackle, guard, snapping the ball as a center. So feel like he could be another versatile piece to add to the offensive line to give us some flexibility moving forward. With Big Mike, feel like he's one of the nastier players in this entire draft. The physicality, the edge that he plays with, the toughness that he brings. I don't think you can have enough of that. We don't think you can have enough of that on this team. So adding 2 guys with this kind of toughness going to add to the fabric of the team.
With Mike, there were some off-field concerns. There were a couple of arrests. Also, he's a little bit older, some injury history. What makes you guys confident that specifically the off-field issues are in the past?
Yeah, no, we were aware of some of those issues going into this process. Part of our process is getting together with the player, getting together, having a security meeting regarding every player in the draft, and felt comfortable about adding him to the organization, and feel good about him not making those similar mistakes moving forward.
What about the medical, Joe?
The medical on that is, again, so part of our process leading up to this draft is sitting down with our security team, sitting down with our medical team, making sure that everyone's on the same page, everyone's eyes wide open into what any issues could be going into the draft, and feel comfortable that he's going to be able to help us long term.
When you have some players like that who have off-field concerns, sometimes you can get a player who's talented enough to potentially go in the 1st or 2nd round who slips because of that. Is that how you view him? Like, would you view him as a potential, from a talent perspective, a 1st-round talent who just happened to slip because of the off-field issues?
We feel the talent level obviously high, and what he brings from a length, toughness, has speed off the edge. Certainly you could say that he's a first, second day talent level, but then you get to a point in the draft, and risk is mitigated somewhat, but felt good about adding him where we added him.
What do you think was the biggest thing you accomplished this week?
I think the biggest thing, and I'm sure Coach has his own perspective, but I feel like the biggest thing that we did was add quality depth, add quality players to this team, and obviously nothing's going to be handed to these guys. These guys are going to have to work for everything, but these guys have the right mindset and mentality to compete. Coach always talks about it: love of the game, consistent competitiveness, will to be great. I feel like all these guys bring that.
Robert, right after the Buffalo game, you talked to us, and I think it was the same message you gave the team. You talked about the gap in the division and catching those teams in the division. How much is that in your mind when you guys are talking about roster building, not just the draft free agency, when you're doing that, just specifically like, hey, Buffalo has X, Y, and Z, Miami has X, Y, and Z, we need to do this. How much is that in your mind?
No, it's not necessarily comparing us to what they have. It's just building a roster that we have a vision for, that can execute our schemes, that can execute the character that we want, that can execute the things that we need to get done. So really the idea of closing the gap isn't necessarily trying to combat what they have. It's trying to get better with what we have. And adding pieces, adding players, developing those players. So it's feel like Joe and his staff. I mean, just to be able to give us a stage and talk. It's just. I think there's a clear vision for every single player that we've brought in from free agency to the draft, and now it's just going out in the field and implementing that vision and getting those guys to play to the best of their ability.
Robert, you guys are being universally praised for your draft. What's that feel like?
That's for you guys. I've also been in places where we've been universally mocked. I think we took Bruce Irvin, Bobby Wagner, and Russell Wilson in the first 3 rounds and got a D grade, if I remember right. So it doesn't matter. We got to develop these young men. They got to come in. They got to perform, and we've got to help them. We got to put them in the best position possible. We'll know in about 3 years.
So you read our report cards?
When I was younger.
A couple of specific position type questions.
Sure.
So, offensive defensive line. Is it possible that JFM could be in the base defense, move inside? Is that could be his regular?
I think JFM, and I think I think we all would agree on this one that his ability to win one-on-ones and pass rush, his best spot is inside. So ideally, we can get him inside on 3rd down, and even get him on more passing situations on 1st and 2nd down to get him some run on the inside. So having that flexibility by drafting Jermaine, getting Michael here today, it gives us that flexibility to allow him to not have to grind outside so much and keep himself fresh, because he wins at a very high rate when he's inside. So it does give us a little bit more flexibility with JFM to put him where he can win, but he has a dominant figure outside in the run game. So he's a cool tool.
And my other question is, you've said on a number of occasions, Mackay and George will battle, compete against each other at left tackle. So who's the right tackle?
No, you know what? It's a matter of just finding what's best for the organization in terms of if George is comfortable out at left and Mackay can get back here healthy and he's showing that he's got the versatility. It's and then obviously we bringing in Max Mitchell and Chuma looks good, and there's guys here too. So there's a lot of different guys that would like to get on the football field. So it's just trying to make sure that we find the right combination.
You guys obviously made a significant investment at tight end this offseason. I'm just wondering, for both of you, why is this position important to your offense and obviously to the development of your young quarterback?
The tight end position, obviously 1st, 2nd down run game, easy target. They're big, especially over the middle. And I feel like there's such good versatility between the whole group. Just speaking of the ones that we added this year, CJ obviously more in line. Talked about it yesterday. Conklin more of third down move tight end, and adding Rucker last night. He's kind of in between the two. He's a really good run blocker. Plays is very tough. He's got some ability in the pass game. We just got to find a way to unlock it and see if we can maximize it. But it's always nice to have a big target that just runs their easy outlets, get vertical, lay the hammer down when people are trying to tackle. So it's.
Robert, you guys
To jump off of what Rick asked about right tackle, left tackle, George has stated that he feels he's best suited at left tackle, and he played well last year. Is there a chance that coming in, if Mackay is healthy, that he just starts off at working at right tackle and you move forward from there instead of a competition at left? Or
yeah, we'll see as soon as we can get him back here and he's healthy and he's ready to roll and he's out in the football field and we're getting all the individual work. We'll know pretty quick.
He's disappointed he's not here,
Well, you want all your guys to be here. It's voluntary. But I know he's working his tail off in Dallas, and we have tabs on him. We know exactly what he's doing, and we know where he is within his rehab. So we're would love you back here, buddy. Come on, we'll take care of you. But no, I know he's working. So
Take a couple more.
Joe, you said at the end of the season press conference, you talked about solving the injury issue was kind of a priority of this offseason, and you mentioned it a bunch of times. You said we got to keep these guys healthy. have you guys come up with anything in that department? Was there any changes you're gonna try to make to the off-season program, to the in-season program, anything you're doing to address that?
Yeah, I think with our sports performance team, I think Brad DeWeese, Mike Nicolini, Zuff, they do such a great job at communicating. And so one of the things we'll do is get together as a group, kind of go over some solutions, possible solutions. And the great thing that's already in place is how well our coach. I feel like our coaching staff and our sports performance team work together and communicate together. And so, look, it's only going to improve. We feel year two with our performance staff in place, and everything's geared to help these players. Like Coach said when we first got here, our goal is to every player reach their ultimate goal and get paid. And you're going to get paid if you stay on the field and produce. So that's what we're trying to do: gear individual plans for players to help them reach their goal.
Robert, I think when you look across this roster, like it looks on paper like you guys have gotten significantly better from, like you said yesterday, from where you guys were in 2019. At receiver, tight end, offensive line, second everywhere. I mean, there's a legitimate influx of talent, but all of the talent that's now here, part of building it through the draft is they're all super young, in their very, very early 20s. So as a coach, how much pressure do you and your staff feel to take this talent and turn them into ball players, and also how much you kind of relish the opportunity to do that?
Yeah, being in any coach's chair, any player's chair, his chair, it's pressure every day. It doesn't matter what it is, so there's always pressure. It's the league, but it's talking to Albrecht. We'll take them all. Just give us everything. Give me the pressure of being able to coach them and find ways to get them better. And it is a very young group. There is going to be a growth period that we're going to want to see, obviously. And but we are excited to be able to go to work with anyone that's in our building. It is a challenge. It is so rewarding to watch and work with these young men and put in all the hours that we put in. And then when you see these young men reach their full potential, it's rewarding. It's a really cool thing to see these young men have success in this league. So really excited to work with these guys tomorrow. We finally get on the field with OTAs with them tomorrow or on Monday. I'm sorry, but it's exciting. So
I want to add something just because, not to embarrass Robert here, but what we asked our coaching staff to do last year. We were at least the one or two most rookie snaps in the league. That's a hard thing for a coaching staff to do with so many young players. I think we all realize that, and it was, no one dipped their toe in the water. They cannonballed in, they attacked it. The entire staff developed these young players, and the whole plan for that is to benefit in the future. And so now we have a group of young players that have played a lot of snaps, a lot of quality NFL snaps. And when they're called on to help us again, they're going to be ready. And we've added even more players. So what Coach and his staff did, I can't say enough positive things about that.
Joe, and then Connor.
Joe, I think it was John Schneider a few years ago said that a GM after the draft is kind of like a surgeon after surgery. They never walk out of the room and said, "Oh man, I really screwed that up." You always feel good about what you did in there. But is there things that you accomplished over these 3 days that makes this feel different than other drafts? That makes you feel more confident that you guys, got it right?
Ultimately, it's hard to judge a draft. Coach brought up the Seattle draft where everybody panned them, and they ended up getting three franchise-changing players. So you really don't know until 3 years. Coach and I always talk about 3 years for these young guys. Give them 3 years before we judge or put anything on these guys, because everyone develops at a different rate. But the last 2 years, I feel like because of the communication that our staffs have had through this entire process, felt like a few things have bounced our way too in terms of draft. But we also, we made the most of our opportunity. We feel like in adding quality players. But ultimately, we'll see how it all plays out over the next couple of years. But there's nothing ever goes perfectly in terms of the draft process. But feel like the last 2 years, some things have gone our way. We've made the most of our opportunities, and that's going to help us moving forward.
Last year, Joe, you guys were able to be a little bit active after the draft in terms of veteran free agency. You signed Morgan Moses, although the exact timing of that signing probably could have been a day earlier, a day after. Is there anyone that you see that you could potentially dive back into that market?
Yeah.
again?
Yeah, so Greg Nejma, Chad Alexander, our pro scouting staff, along with Dave Sosi, Nick Sabella on the football admin side, we comb through depth charts, see if there's any scenarios like Morgan's last year, where a player may have a certain amount of guaranteed money that a team may not be comfortable staying with after they've drafted a younger player. So we're going through the depth charts now, seeing if there's any opportunities that could unfold similar to the situation last year with Morgan.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Michael, be on Zoom short.